Hey people, how is it going? And your boy AK Rex is back at it, making some videos for you. Hope you enjoy it. And if you're hearing any background noise outside because of the builder's work, then I apologize for that. There's nothing I can do. I cannot tell them to stop, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to just stomach it for the time being if you hear it. If you don't, then it's great, and let's get on with the video. The title, as it is saying, is about Tyrannosaurids from Russia. Now don't panic yet, we have not had any descriptions, we have not found any skeletons or well-preserved skull material or anything like that. There's just some heavy hints on it, you know, there's just some stuff that I've been wanting to talk about because it doesn't really get brought up for obvious reasons, since there's no way to diagnose them properly. Now, this is a very good artwork made by this user here, Oloro Titan, whose name is Andy Atuchin, or as Russian speakers would call him, Andrei Atuchin. And he's made this hypothetical reconstruction of some kind of, let's just say, ghostly figure of Tyrannosaurid that we do not know anything about, other than a few pieces, maybe, from, you know, like phalanges, whatever, and teeth, perhaps. In fact, you know, a dentition may be a factor. We'll dig into this later, so bear with me. So this is a very cool reconstruction. Well, it doesn't really magnify much. And we've got Oloro Titan, which is a Russian dinosaur. And I presume this was its prey, along with a few other hadrosaurids that may have lived at the same time, in the same place as well. Now, in the comments here, this is where Andy replied, this is 2011, so it's been almost 10 years ago. This is really that old, and we still have not heard anything about this. It's very, yeah, it's bad that we still have not got any news on, or any potential updates to see if we can find anything to compare it to. But anyway, yeah, these phalanges, so even some vertebrae and some other stuff, but nothing particularly to be able to diagnose. But then again, he goes on to say that it's like same as you and comparable to the Splitosaurus, so that kind of doesn't make sense, because the Splitosaurus is quite a lot smaller than Tyrannosaurus. Even Tarbosaurus is quite significantly smaller, unless there are rumors that maybe, again, may be true, that there may be a few specimens out there that reach similar lengths to Tyrannosaurus, which would still make it significantly lighter anyway, but not as much of a difference in size as we currently understand it. But to my knowledge, the 10.5 something like that meters length for Tarbosaurus, and of course its significantly lower mass as well in compared to Tyrannosaurus Rex, make it quite significantly smaller than T-Rex. And the same thing could be said about the Splitosaurus, although the Splitosaurus is not as drastically smaller, I would say, in comparison to Tarbosaurus, than Tarbosaurus, I think, is to Tyrannosaurus Rex. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, yeah, this is what we have here. It's pretty much none of it is described, but I'm curious to know whether or not there is any dentition that could potentially be used to compare to all known Asian taxa from Tyrannosauridae, and maybe just in case compare it to Tyrannosaurus Rex, the type taxon, so to speak, of the family, just to see whether or not we might potentially, I mean, hey, who knows? I'm just kind of throwing it out there that maybe it could be another Tyrannosaurus, like imagine if you had a Russian species of Tyrannosaurus. So, because the time period almost fits, you know what I mean? I will tell you something, okay? I'll tell you something. We'll get into this. So this is just his reconstruction, which is pretty cool and all. Now let's go to the Udurchu confirmation wiki page, and there is a few things that I see that are somewhat difficult. So, of course, we have these confirmed taxa. This is a dubious taxon here of a sauropod, so we don't actually know its tooth, tail, vertebrae, whatever. So not much to say. Could be a hadrosaurid as well if it's misidentified, so whatever. In any case, these two, I mean, considered to be different taxa, but some say maybe synonymous with Kerberosaurus. So they are both saurolophine hadrosaurids, and then we have two lambeosaurians right here, Amaurosaurus and Olorotitan. And if we go over to them, if we just keep scrolling them, but in fact let's put them together. So we have lambeosaurians here. So you see the time span estimated here and versus this one here, very similar with an extra 2 million years here. Then we've got 66 million years for Kerberosaurus, so right at the end, and we have 67 to 66. Now 66, yeah, sorry. Now we cannot really be 100% sure because there is not a lot of extra, you know, sources that can tell us stuff, you know, and confirm in any actual written material, because just things in Russia just get done very, well, let's just say uniquely in the way they do things. So, and there's just some stuff here that they just done some notes on, and just a whole bunch of stuff that we can see here, but not a lot, unfortunately, not a lot to really go by. We only know that it's estimated to be about, you know, Maastrichtian sometime in 70 up to 66 million years, but we don't actually have the exact time estimate of that formation in particular, considering that one entry here says it's 70 to 66, while with Olorotitan we have 72 to 66 million, and we don't have any sites of it anywhere else other than the Udruchukan formation. So this is a little bit weird to see how it's a bit of a mismatch as well. So it's just wiki being wiki basically. And but here's the interesting part that I want you guys to notice if you haven't already. It says other fossils reported presumably, and Tarbosaurus batar just gets thrown in there like nothing, and this is very interesting, maybe because they're relying on the idea that the locality might be within the time span plus the time period. So if we look at the place here, so if we just look at that, this is the Amur district, or as they say, Amurska Oblast, of the area where where this formation is located. This right here, this bit here, see this border right here, that's Mongolia here. I think this part is China. This is Mongolia right here. I don't remember exactly where about in Mongolia Tarbosaurus fossils have been found. Pretty sure it would have spread out quite a bit. And dubious reports say that there may have been some remains of Tarbosaurus found in China, which are not confirmed, so just treat them as the rumors. Again, we have this kind of, you know, faulty phone line, you know, syndrome here, where things get passed around and we don't even know what's true or not anymore. And this is the area where, I think it's somewhere around here actually, or right here, probably. Somewhere in this area basically we have this Udruchukan formation right there. That's the one. So there is no reason to suggest that there was actually Tarbosaurus, because we don't have any Tarbosaurus remains, but there is every chance, based on the time period coincidence, that this could indeed be a Tarbosaurus. You know, there is absolutely every possibility for it, but again, possibility does not make it a fact, and we do know for a fact, the fact of the empirical evidence tells us that we have Tyrannosaurid teeth, or other potential, you know, like remains, bones and stuff like that, minor pieces basically that is not distinguishable yet, of some Tyrannosaurid. That's all that is known. It's known that it's a Tyrannosaurid, but that's as far as it's known, and there is also no formal description of anything, even if it's an indirect taxa or unreferred specimens, whatever, species, I mean taxa, whatever, anything. Nothing that is basically able to diagnose it. But even in that sort of state, it has not actually been described. That's important to understand that, because we don't really know what material they are actually referring. I mean, and how well preserved is it? How many teeth have they found? How many phalanges have they found? What else have they found? You know, really, how do we verify everything that Andy said over there? Maybe it's all chances are it's probably true. I don't expect him to be, you know, making stories up just for the sake of it. But again, how do we verify that whatever, if what Andy said is true, how do we actually know that this is really it? That's what I'm trying to say here. So it would be interesting, and of course I'm really curious to note why the wiki article actually used Tarbosaurus batara's potential, since they don't actually indicate the reason, like any reference into why they believe that could be a Tarbosaurus batar. So we're going to close that one down here. I said we're going to close it. Yes, thank you. And if you go to the Meg formation, that's been estimated as the 70 roughly million years ago. Again, I don't believe there has been very precise estimate for it, but of course we do have Tarbosaurus listed in this, which is where its primary remains are found. And it's the same thing here with we see that it's given a 70 million year estimate time frame. So we're just gonna close this for a second. We don't need that anymore. Now what's the most interesting thing is that if that's true, then we might have ourselves either a Tarbosaurus potentially, or its predecessor maybe, depending on how it fits in the time frame, or it could actually be a Tarbosaurus, and alternatively, very unlikely, but could possibly be a completely new taxon of a later time period that chances are could either be a completely different taxon, or it might actually be synonymous with Tyrannosaurus rex, but with different species obviously. So depending on what material will be further discovered, if and when it ever gets described and addressed, we might actually see some development on that front, and who knows, we might actually find some interesting large Tyrannosaurids from the vast territories of Russia, which just a lot of it is just completely unexplored and unknown to us. So yeah, let's see where we go with that. Well, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this one interesting, and we'll speak to you guys later. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give this video a big fat thumbs up. AK out. Ciao.